How's it going, my truant people? Dr. Slacking, the Slacking Doctor, back with week 1 of the EWT as your Bowling Bovines go up against Skyrander and his Scandinavian Stoutlands. And as you can see, we're on Showdown today. We did originally play this game on Wi-Fi, which is why I got that lovely thumbnail that you've already seen with Toxtricity. But we basically had a disconnect after maybe about 10 turns. It took us about an hour to get connected in the first place, and we were running out of time. So we moved to Showdown to recreate and then finish the game. It still took us a long time to even recreate on Showdown. This was actually the last recreation attempt that we were going to do before we were considering just starting the match from scratch and playing it like a new game, which I certainly really didn't want to do because I felt like I don't know, I feel like if you already have seen half your opponent's sets and stuff halfway through the game, it doesn't make it a fair game. So yeah, I really wasn't keen on that idea, but we were really struggling to recreate this one accurately. So anyway, let me quickly talk you guys through the team. Kind of back in my element here, doing a Showdown post-com. Feel very much more at ease than when we're doing live comms on Wi-Fi. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying Wi-Fi live comms in the UBL, and they will be back for the rest of the EWT season, connection allowing. So anyway, let's talk about the team. You can see my opponent's got a really scary team. Mamo, I didn't think it'd be Choice in this matchup. I don't think Choice Mamo has a good matchup against me with things like Arachnid on my draft. I thought it would maybe potentially struggle. The Hydreigon I really fear like a nasty plot set, but maybe Scarf. I don't tend to fear Scarf as much. I don't think Scarf Hydreigon is the best Hydreigon set, but it's definitely possible in this matchup, although it will struggle to break through Mandibuzz, which is fully Spadef with boots. Then we have a Rotom Fan here. This thing actually beat me in some of my mocks. Shout out to my front office for helping me prep. Prep was a little bit stretched this week. I still haven't played it yet, but we were more focused on the UBL semi-finals against Vepsis, which has been delayed, so I apologise for those of you that are waiting for that. Vepsis has been unwell and whatever else, so we just haven't been able to play it yet, but obviously my prep was kind of focused on that. But we did do a little bit of prep for this, so I can't pretend that, like, you know, oh, we weren't even prepared like we were. We went into this prepared. I don't want to act like I wasn't trying, because I was. So then we got Rotom Fan here. Putting some work in the mocks. I saw Scarf only really in mocks. Then Cobalion, probably the rocker looking at the team composition. I think Mamo's better as a wall breaker against me, so I'm guessing this is the rocker, but it could be anything. It could be Scarf again to revenge kill Terrakion. Hydreigon can struggle to revenge kill Terrakion without just firing Dragon moves into Whimsicott, unless it's running like Flash Cannon, and then that might not always KO, blah blah blah. Then we've got Primarina here. This thing could also be Scarf. I saw that in some of my mocks, but generally is going to look to pivot in on Terrakion more than likely. And then last up we've got Gengar. So one of the things I didn't want to see is a combination of Gengar plus Hydreigon, because that puts so much pressure on Mandibuzz. That means that Mandibuzz basically has to try and wall 2 special threats at once, and it's really going to get. If one of them breaks it, I'm going to be in a bad spot. So anyway, let's go through my team. Heavy Duty Boots, fully Spadef Mandibuzz with Knock, Brave Bird, Roost, and U-Turn. I'm not too worried about hazards in this game. It doesn't look like he has the best hazard setters in my opinion against me. I think it's unlikely rocks get up too much. I've got the boots on just in case, and this is my only rock weakness really, apart from Arachnid, which I think also has boots, so we'll be fine. Other than that, just really meant to pivot, come in on a Shadow Ball, U-turn out, come in on a Draco, Roost, U-turn out, that kind of thing. Then we've got Air Balloon Terrakion. This thing can come in on Mamoswine on the Earthquakes really freely. It doesn't look like I have the best Earthquake switching on my team because of Mandibuzz being then weak to the ice coverage and slower, and Arachnid being bopped by a Stone Edge. So this is my kind of way of coming in on an Earthquake prediction and doing some damage. And obviously, if he's like Life Orb, for example, Whimsicott wouldn't want to take an Ice Shard after a Quake. So this kind of helps with that. It just gets it in for free, and it also makes it harder to revenge kill by, say, Scarf Earth Power Hydreigon, by Scarf Earthquake Mamo, or any other kind of ground coverage you might have. So also the rocker on this team, if I want to get aggressive and make rocks on a read where I think he's going to switch, which I was able to do pretty comfortably in my mocks, because like I say, there's a lot of like his offense, he doesn't want to just sack things, so I can potentially get rocks up quite easily. Then we've got a Infiltrator Whimsicott with Tailwind, Energy Ball, Psychic, Moonblast. Basically this thing with an expert belt, really specialist offensive, can revenge kill Mamoswine if he doesn't have, like, say he's banded into Earthquake or scuffed into Earthquake. Obviously Energy Ball is going to destroy it with an expert belt on here. Moonblast will hit the Hydreigon, Psychic will hit the Gengar, and crucially if these two are like sub nasty plot, which will put so much pressure on Mandibuzz, this thing with the Infiltrator, I think he won't expect that. I think he won't necessarily think, this is going to go through my sub, he'll switch, and that means Whimsicott can revenge kill really, really well. Specs Toxtricity here, just supposed to wall break. He has kind of a switch in for electric coverage, switch in for normal, and a switch in for poison, but he has to predict right every single time, otherwise he just sacks something. If he ever gets it wrong, something goes down. Then we have the Quillfish, just a spike stacker, designed to come in on a Cobalion, Black Sludge, Intimidate. It can kind of help out with a couple of other things. It's faster than Mamo, so it's not particularly bulky, but I can Liquidation the Mamo that way and Revenge Kill that, and I'm not weak to Ice Shard if he's like a Life Orb set, so that Whimsicott isn't being pressured by that Life Orb Ice Shard. And then last up, Webs, Araquanid. If I can get Webs up in this game, I don't have to worry about, say, Scarf Primarina, outspeeding my Terrakion, and the same with the Mamo as well. So Webs aren't like crucial, but they just look nice if I can get them. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lead off with the Toxtricity here. It wasn't really something I led with in mocks. I tended to lead with like the Araquanid to get Webs up, or maybe Mandibuzz for momentum, but I really wanted to lead with something offensive here, so I went with the Toxtricity to try and hopefully put on some pressure. Looking at his leads, I thought maybe Sash Mamo with rocks, maybe Sash Cobalion with rocks, something like that, and this way I could just get like a massive hit off on those, especially if it's Sash Mamo. I think he would go for rocks expecting me to switch, and I would potentially just be able to 2-hit KO him if I outsped. So it was kind of a bit of a greedy lead by me, and I was going to stay in on the Mamo and get even greedier, but yeah, unfortunately he leads off with the Gengar, and this is something I can't stay in on, but I do have a good switch in Old World, so I'm just going to pivot out to Mandibuzz here. We take like nothing from that, and I'm just going to go for the knockoff here, just bring him down to 88% now. Because this is a recreation, we see there the Focus Sash. I think I actually missed that in the game. I don't think I noticed they had the Focus Sash in the game, but it didn't really matter. I think I did marginally more in the game. Like this was one of the lowest rolls I think we got, because we recreated this a few times. So I think he was more down at maybe like 6 or 7 in the game, and I basically make a bit of a misplay here. I decide to U-turn rather than Brave Bird or knockoff, and the reason I said it's a misplay is this is a Focus Sash lead, and if I'd noticed that, I might have thought a bit more about it, but even then, he's just Nasty Plotted it up on me. He's not going to switch. Like, he hasn't stayed in knowing he's going to take a knockoff to Nasty Plot and then switch out. He's always going to attack here, so going for the U-turn, I just kind of thought it would kill, and I didn't really care if it didn't, but I should have just taken the KO guaranteed. There was no reason not to Brave Bird, or just double knock, to be honest. Another knockoff here would have been perfect. But I go for the U-turn, and as you're going to see, it didn't KO. It does 6%, so he was probably at like, honestly, he probably was at 7 in the game, and because it looked like he barely survived. I didn't actually ask, but it was just a misplay. Like, whether or not it was down to 2 damage rolls on the knockoff and then the U-turn, I don't know, but it was a huge misplay. I should have just Brave Birded, taken my KO, and got one of his sacks removed, because that would have meant Boom Burst would have been free for the rest of the game, because Cobalion does not want to take a Specs Boom Burst. So I should have been thinking long game there. I'm really thinking about like what he can't guard against on my team, and Boom Burst would have been something he couldn't guard against there. So that was poor. Here I Moonblast thinking like, well, I know he's not Scarf, so there's nothing on his team that could switch into a Moonblast. 6% I could kill with an Energy Ball. I figured that Cobalion, as it was neutral to Moonblast and neutral to Energy Ball, was his best switch. Maybe Rotom Fan. So I just fire off the Moonblast so that it's not resisted by either of those, and he goes into the Mamoswine, and I was like, what? That is that is such a brave play to go into Mamoswine on when it died to Energy Ball. I was like, okay, but it makes sense, because my best play is to Moonblast. As I've just described, it hits more of his team for better coverage. So yeah, it makes sense, but it's brave. It is so brave to go into your Mamoswine on this. So I'm like, okay, I'll just pivot out into my Araquanid. We see there that he doesn't do much damage. He's going to spam Ice Shard here, basically because in the original game, he goes for Stone Edge and he lands, and he thought that might be a roll to KO. So rather than going for it here and KO me before I got my webs up, he just spams Ice Shard for the recreation purpose, and I'm going to click Ice Shard again this turn when I don't die. Sorry, I'm going to click Sticky Web again this turn so that we get a real scenario. And that's exactly what happened, is basically he Ice Sharded Stone Edged on my webs, and then he knocked off to KO me, which you'll see here. So that was us just being very careful to make sure we got the exact same position recreated. I got out into my Quillfish because, like I said, I know this thing outspeeds him. I now know from the fact he changed his moves in the original as well, Ice Shard, Stone Edge, and Knockoff were all revealed, that I'll be able to outspeed him. Guaranteed. He's not Scarf, he's not anything like that. I mean, he's obviously not affected by the web, so I do have to be wary of that, but I can outspeed and kill him with Liquidation, guaranteed. The only thing that I'm thinking is Hydreigon does come in pretty freely on that Liquidation. I don't think he'll ever go Primarina, because then I can just Poison Jab and he's under webs, but I do think that the Hydreigon can come in for free on the Liquidation. So I'm going to make the double into Terrakion, knowing that if he stays in on Quillfish, it's only to Earthquake. So at the very least, like, I'm probably going to be able to get some momentum here. Now, the reason that, again, this wasn't probably my best play, is if I had just gone into the Terrakion before the Quillfish instead of making this double, I might have just been able to force a KO outright, potentially, because he might have just sacked his Mamoswine, not wanting to go into his Primarina or anything else. But because it's only the Quillfish, he he doesn't sack the Mamswine. He's not that afraid. He goes into Rotom. And now, because the Rotom's at full health, it hasn't taken any chip, he doesn't want to sack this thing from full, so he is going to switch out. And so again, like here, I'm just not forcing my KOs. When you're playing an offense game like I'm playing here, you have to take the KOs when they present themselves, because otherwise your opponent will preserve sacks to your threats, and then they'll be able to win the sack race, and that's the last thing you need when you're playing this type of game. So it's only a minor thing, because he might have saved his Mamo on my Terrakion anyway. He might have just gone hard Primarina regardless, so who knows. But it puts me in a difficult spot. Maybe a Mamswine at half HP, he would have just sacked to me, and then my Overdrive would have been free with Toxtricity. But instead he doesn't. He goes into Primarina, not wanting to sack a full health Rotom. As I say, I can only speculate. I just think maybe, although the double was nice, it was unnecessary, I think. I think it was really unnecessary. So I'm just going to sack the Mandibus here, because I don't need it for anything. I think this is pretty much where we got up to in the recreation, near enough. I'm going to go out to Toxtricity, not quite. And I'm going to fire off the Sludge Wave here as he goes Cobalion. I basically was like, I can't Boom Burst, because if he goes Gengar, I have to sack something to Gengar, because I'm Specs and I'm locked into Boom Burst. I maybe could have gone into Quillfish on the Gengar and not had to sack, but then like Quillfish doesn't really claim a KO in return. It probably lets the Hydreigon in on a Liquidation. I guess I could have Poison Jabbed, and that would have been pretty good, but it would have let the Cobalion in. So I could have Spiked or something. I don't know. It was just... It was a loose play, and I thought, well, I can't Boom Burst, so I don't want to let the Gengar in for free. I can't Overdrive, because I don't want to let the Mamo in for free, because I definitely have to sack to Mamo at this point. Now that I know he's not choice locked, I can't just go into my Whimsicott on the Earthquake. I could go into Terrakion on the Earthquake, but it's risky, and I don't think I'd make that play, so I'd just end up sacking. So I went for the Sludge Wave, thinking the Cobalion would never come in on a Specs Overdrive, because that was probably my most likely click, right, against the Primarina. That's my strongest stab move against Primarina, hits his whole team. And he goes Cobalion. I'm like, after he went into the Mamo on the Moonblast, this thing on the Sludge Wave, I'm like, this man is so aggressive. Like, his plays, he's willing to just let things go if he has to. Like, he will just make that big predict. So I'm going to go out into Terrakion here, trying to make a play of my own, predicting the Earthquake. I know it's loose, but I don't think he ever is going to Iron Head or Close Combat into a Resist. Maybe I could have predicted the Volt Switch and just Sludge Waved again and taken a KO. Yeah, maybe I should have done, but I thought he would have Earthquake, so I didn't. Anyway, I get my Terrakion in here, and he goes into Gengar with his Volt Switch, which super threw me off. We'll just replay this event. I was like, okay, so we Volt Switches, but what can he go into? If he goes into Hydreigon, we probably find out it's Scarf Hydreigon right now, which would be excellent to know. But he goes into Gengar, and I'm like, you aren't Scarf, and you're into Webs, so... What? Like, what's happening here? If you want to pivot into Hydreigon on my Earthquake, you could have just gone into Hydreigon in the first place. So... I'm not sure if you just misclicked here or if you forgot Webs were up. Probably forgot Webs were up. But either way, because in the game on Wi-Fi, you can't see the Webs on the field like you can on Showdown. Anyway, he now pivots into Cobalion on the Earthquake, and this is where I make a really big misplay. I Earthquake again, because I'm like, no one in their right mind goes into Hydreigon, because my Close Combat is so free here. If I Close Combat, this thing goes into Stone Edge range. This thing's slower than me and will die to Earthquake. This thing will die, this thing on the field will die, and Hydreigon will die. So the only thing you go into would be Rotom Fan on the Close Combat, and that dies to a Stone Edge. So I thought, there's no way he will switch into Hydreigon. So I'm not going to Close Combat, I'm going to Earthquake so that I don't drop my defenses, and that way it forces his Hydreigon when it comes back in to click Draco. That was my thinking. If Scarf Hydreigon wants to revenge kill me, I'm going to force it to click Draco by not dropping my defenses, so I click Earthquake again, as he goes hard Hydreigon. I should have realized by this point this man has no fear. He is the bravest player I think I've ever played against, and he will make those big predictions. And I'm just like, okay, I need to be punishing these. I need to be calling these, making these reads back, and taking these things, because right now I'm down 6-4. And I'm now going to have to sack something if I don't get this right. Thinking that he probably has a Flash Cannon, which could potentially kill Terrakion and potentially kill Whimsicott on the switch-in. I'm going to go into Quillfish. If he Dracos and I die, then I've sacked. But I feel like the Flash Cannon is such good coverage to hit these two that he's going to have it on deck. Instead, he goes for the Draco, and I die. And now I'm down 6-3, and I'm like, am I getting 6-0'd? Is this game over? This time my energy ball, because I'm like, the way he's playing it is Scarf. He's at -2 special attack. He's not staying in. I am not letting him go to Mamoswine again. If he wants to go into anything else, I'll outspeed it. I'll kill the Cavalion with the Moonblast. I'll kill the Gengar with the Energy Ball anyway. The Rotom I'll fire off a Moonblast into, and the Primarina will die at the Energy Ball. So I was just like, he's not staying with Hydra, and I'm not letting him go Mammo and Ice Shard me. So yeah, we get it. Finally, we get the play right. Out comes the Rotom. I'm just going to go into Thundercat here on his defog, but that's fine. I don't really need webs at this point, knowing now that the Hydreigon is almost certainly scarfed from the way he's played it. All I need to do is take my KOs. Here I Volt Switch because I'm not letting this thing come in on a Boom Burst, and now we're in a position because Boom Burst almost KOs everything on his team. Like, if I can get maybe some Rocks Chip on Hydreigon, bear in mind I'm Specs, I think I'm Modest, and yeah, if I can get some Chip, especially Rocks Chip on this Rotom, if he's not Boots, we're looking good, because if I can get a Tailwind up and I can Boom Burst through his team, all I need is to remove one more Pokemon, and I'll have my 3 turns of Tailwind to Boom Burst through his whole team. So, we're looking like we might have something here. Out comes the Hydreigon again, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go hard Terrakion as he goes for the U-turn. My thinking there was, if he, like, went for the Fire Blast, for example, I might be able to catch it with the Terrakion. If he had Flash Cannon, I'd basically set the Terrakion, get in the Toxtricity, click Boom Burst to claim a KO, go back to Whimsicott, get my Tailwind, and win. So that was my kind of positioning, thought process. Right, this dies, I get a KO with Boom Burst, and then I get a Tailwind up. So that was the plan. Anyway, he goes for the U-turn, and I was like, damn it. Even if he'd gone for like the Draco or anything, if he'd gone for the Fire Blast, then I would have been able to get some initiative. I'm just going to go for the Rocks here and take the Psychic, which he obviously doesn't want to let the Toxtricity in, because like I said, Toxtricity can force a KO. I thought he might just Surf or something. I don't know. I guess he didn't want to let the Whimsicott in either, and that was his good mid-ground. I didn't really care about Terrakion at this point. Terrakion doesn't need to do anything, really, so I'm just going to get my Rocks up, because that will put everything in Boom Burst range, I believe. And then I'm going to go for the Earthquake for guaranteed chip on this Primarina. The reason being, that means Whimsicott can KO it with the Energy Ball. And we're looking good, right? Now all I've got to do is click Tailwind next turn, and we should win. Because this thing takes Rocks Chips. I don't know this thing's item. Maybe if it was like Spadef Rotom, I didn't ask him. Maybe it could have lived a Boom Burst. But from my perspective, I'm looking at this and I'm like, all I got to do is Tailwind. Hopefully he like Flash Cannons here and I die on that same turn. And this is where I remember, I'm not Prankster. I'm Infiltrator, because I was so worried about Sub Gengar and Sub Hydreigon, and instead Scarf Gengar and Sash Gengar and Scarf Hydreigon came. I'm not Prankster. So now I'm like, okay, how this isn't going to work, because if I Tailwind here, if I live one and Tailwind, I still have to die the next turn. I won't have enough turns of Tailwind to win here. So I'm in a pretty bad spot. I'm just going to click the Tailwind anyway, as he reveals a Fire Blast, which really surprised me. I was sure it would be Flash Cannon, but it was Fire Blast. If that had missed, maybe I could have had a shot. I don't know. I'm just going to Boom Burst, claim that KO. He can go back out into Hydreigon. If he doesn't have the Earth Power, or he misses a Draco Meteor here, we can still win. He doesn't miss his Draco Meteor, and we lose 2-0. Now, to say we were 6-3 down, 2-0 isn't that bad. I am gutted with the way I played this game. I let his Hydreigon come hard in on my Terrakion, which at that point he hadn't seen if I was Scarf or not, so that's why I think he made that play, because he was like, oh, he's Scarfed Terrakion, he's Scarfed into Earthquake. Made a lot of sense. I let him do that. Like, I should have been clicking CC there. Even if it dropped my Spadef and I was worried about losing something to Hydreigon, I needed to take my KOs and I needed to not let things in for free. I should have clicked Brave Bird on the Gengar turn 3. I should have taken my KO there. I should probably have not fancied with the double with Quillfish into Terrakion earlier in the game. I should have probably just taken my CC on the Mammo. Yeah, there was a bunch of turns this game where I just did not play to force the issue with my opponent, and he punished me instead. Like, he really made the switches that punished my loose plays. So all credit to him. Like, he played this very, very aggressively and very well and caught me out, and deserved the win, fully deserved the win, and good prep as well on his part. So yeah, go check him out. Go check out the rest of the EWT coaches. They'll all be linked down in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Back to kind of my old school analysis videos. I like it. I don't know, maybe this is less entertaining than a live com, but I like doing these. So anyway, thank you so much for loafing around with me, guys, and I'll catch you again next time.